Greetings everyone and welcome to No BS Baking. Now today we're going to talk about the top secrets that bakers don't tell you and secret recipes that are finally being released to all of us simple home bakers. So without further ado, let's get at it. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I see all these channels with this clickbait titles about secret this and secret that and grandma's secret, master baker's secret, and on, I feel like pulling my hair out. Yeah, it appears everyone's got a secret that apparently no one knows about. But let me clarify, these are not secrets, they're just smoke and mirrors to get folks to click their link. Let's look at this in more detail. Now add the lure of foreign language titles and come on, I mean this has to be the best bread secrets, right? Well, let's start with the basics. The type of flour, i.e. high-protein bread flour or all-purpose, depends on the type of product you are making. Stronger flours provide better gas retention and carry fillings or fat laminations much better than lower protein flour. High-protein flour often can make your final product a bit more chewy and substantial versus a lighter, more softer crumb realized through the use of lower protein flour such as all-purpose. In many cases, all-purpose can be used in place of bread flour, but keep in mind that depending on the product you are making, the results may not be exactly what you're hoping for. When in doubt, go with a stronger flour. Water, whatever you're using for liquids for most standard hydration doughs, are in the general range of say around 50 to 65%, depending the product and of course the protein content of the flour you use. Higher protein, rule of thumb, more water it can take. Now, salt is almost always around 2%, no matter what product you may be making using bread or all-purpose flour. Yeast is another constant at about 1% for dry instant yeast, around 1.25% for active dry yeast, and although every site has its own conversion, 2% is a good starting point for fresh. So with respect to the basics, no groundbreaking secrets here. Now, eggs have long been part of bread making and can add nice flavor, texture, and coloring, and of course nutrition to your product. Now, regardless of whether you're using fresh whole eggs, powdered versions, or one of the myriad of egg replacement options out there, the important thing to consider is how much water is this adding to my dough. Thinking about total liquids expressed as a percentage of total flour will give you much better insight into what you're expecting your flour to carry. Now, as you can see in this example, simply adding 2 large eggs to a recipe calling for 500 grams of flour, or a touch over 2 US cups, translates into 14% additional liquid. Now, if your recipe is based on 55% hydration, and you pump it up to 69% without factoring water from the eggs, you can see that this could create a problem. Milk and dairy products in general have long been used in baking. However, keep in mind, most every common sense liquid that contains water can be used as a direct replacement or an addition to water to impart interesting flavors, higher nutrition, softer, more tender crumb, and improved shelf life. Here I have listed just some of the many products that can be used either as a direct replacement or a lovely addition in any of your breads. Use common sense when delving into some of the more off-standard liquids. Do some research and work within recommended levels if stated, and also make sure that your liquid is heat stable and okay for baking. And yes, beer works also. Regarding fats, oils, or one of the many oil replacement options out there, I never saw anything in one of these apparent secrets revealed videos that was anything really new. Just basic baking recipes and methods, but let's just keep looking. So adding toppings or building fillings into breads and rolls is nothing new and has been done for centuries. It's all about creating a dough that will carry whatever it is you want, including cheese, meats, sweet and savory fillings, vegetable, herbs, spices, etc. The addition of nutritional enhancements is also not rocket science. These can be added at varying levels to improve flavor and the nutritional profile of your product. Now, don't be scared to experiment with these. Just make sure you start cautiously. And remember, everything here will weaken your dough, so don't go crazy. Now, being the annoying nerd that I am, here are a few basic guidelines to start with when dealing with fillings. Now, everything's pretty straightforward, but you will note that stuffed or fillings used in breads is a broad range of ratios. Now, this is because so much is dependent on the type of dough you're using and the type of filling you're adding. Now, I'll talk more about this in a second. Now, when it comes to adding soy or nut flours or some other enrichment or flavoring powder product that contains no gluten, you need to keep in mind that this will weaken your dough through not only the product that you add, but the additional water you may have to add, which further dilutes the dough strength. Less gluten to go around, weaker the product. Therefore, it is recommended that you do your research when looking to go beyond just nutritional or flavor enhancement by using these at levels above 15%. So number one, the type of bread. Now, different types of bread dough have varying degrees of elasticity and structure. Softer dough, like that used for sandwich bread, or higher hydration doughs, like say focaccia, might not hold or carry as much filling as a lower hydration dough. As an example, croissant doughs carrying, say, 50% butter based on flour are stiffer, usually around 55% hydration. Number two, the type of filling. Now, the moisture content, consistency, and weight of the filling will also influence how much you can add. For example, a wet and heavy filling like a stew might not work well with a delicate dough, while drier fillings like cheese, fruit preserves, or leafy or grated vegetables are more manageable. Now, the technique. How you incorporate the filling matters too. Roll, fold, or wrap the dough around the filling carefully to avoid tearing and overloading the dough. Portion size. The size of the bread you're making matters. Smaller individual portions can handle more filling compared to larger loaves. Rising and baking. Now, keep in mind that both the dough and the filling can expand during proofing and baking. Overstuffing can lead to excessive settling, bursting, or unevenly baked bread. I've seen a few popular foreign language baking channels that use baking powder in the recipe along with yeast. Now, is this the secret? Well, let me say that baking powder has long been used, albeit not really mainstream in breads. Now, true artisan bread bakers would be appalled to even consider such nonsense. Do they work? Well, baking powder works and you can use it as a one-to-one replacer. However, you give up the lovely fermentation flavors that yeast imparts. Baking powder used in conjunction with yeast will help speed up rest times, final proof via chemical reactions, although it really kicks in at temperatures above 120 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's really meant to do its job in the oven. It has a higher temperature threshold of activity than yeast, so it can perform longer in the oven, promoting a lighter, more airy crumb, in theory anyway. So with respect to everything we just covered off, here's a perfect example of a recipe that is literally loaded, both on the dough side as well as stuffed with fillings and toppings. This is a perfect example of how flexible bread dough can be and how you can create almost anything you want by ensuring a few simple basics. So we know that condensed milk is somewhere around 15 to 30% water, and we know that 2 large eggs contain about 70 mils of water. So after quickly factoring everything, this dough has a hydration of around 55%, which is kind of about where you want it when carrying fillings and toppings like this person has added. I put a link in the description for this recipe. Now, to be honest, this product, in my opinion, didn't really seem to scream the benefits of using baking powder. It looked a bit underbaked and gooey in areas, misshapen, didn't really jump too much in the oven, and seemed to display areas that are compact and dense. I cannot tell by the video if the appearance of underbaked is a result of not enough bake time or temperature for such a rich dough crammed with fillings, or maybe it's the homemade milk carton baking pens. Now, my gut tells me it's most likely both. Now don't get me wrong, I actually appreciate this channel as she does make some interesting products by shaping dough to create different looks and styles of breads and buns, and her titles are catchy. I have to include her in the description. Now, this channel, like many others, has bread making secrets to reveal and recipes so you'll never want or need to buy bread again. And of course, those long forgotten recipes from grandma and mom that go back 100 years. Well, the truth is that many recipes go back much longer than that and haven't changed much for thousands of years, all based on the 4 pillars being flour, water, yeast, and salt. Where I'm going is that from a home baker perspective, there really isn't any secrets, and those old recipes are just the basics that are still used and in practice today. Use a good strong flour when playing with new recipes. It's always easier to scale back to a weaker flour next time if you find your dough to be a bit chewy or substantial for your liking. Always use 2% salt for new bread recipes, and be sensitive to any salt that may be added in the form of butter as an example. Dry yeast is almost always at 1% as a start point unless the dough contains more than 10% sugar. At levels above 10 or 12% sugar, yeast may need to be increased. So at this point you're ready to add the goodies. So I can't stress this enough. Think about the water content of your dough and how it's affected by the ingredients you add in conjunction with the flour you're using. Now here is some really good guidelines I put together on how much water some common baking ingredients contain. Milk is often used as a 1-to-1 replacer for water. You will note that buttermilk contains a similar water percent, whereas sour cream on the other end contains only 74% or a lot less water by weight. Flour contains about 13%, but you do not need to factor this in as most recipe hydration guidelines have already taken this into consideration. Honey, as an example, is in around 20% water, whereas syrups can be much different. As an example, maple syrup comes in around 30%, whereas corn syrup is around 24%, and I've seen some thick syrups come in at 15%. It's always good to check your label and do a bit of math so you can understand the total liquids in your dough, especially if it doesn't turn out as expected. One of the key reasons people can struggle with finished quality, even if their salt and yeast levels are right, is issues regarding the amount of water used for the type of product they want to create, and mixing, which we'll talk about right now. Now, I've done a number of videos on flour protein and mixing and cannot stress enough the importance of mixing your dough to proper development. Professional bakers know this, and they all recommend realistic mix times. But I see many home baking channels that do not communicate this critical aspect to their viewers, or simply demonstrate how to undermix a dough and then hope the bulk fermentation time sorts this out. Now, underdeveloped dough is one of the leading issues new bakers struggle with. And lastly, if you're making a product with loads of fat or oil in it, then delay the addition of this until you've mixed your dough to pretty good development. Oils and fats lubricate everything a bit too much, resulting in slower gluten development during mixing. Also, common sense dictates that you soak any grains or fruits you may add. Dry grains or dehydrated fruit will try and equalize within the bread, sucking moisture from your product and staling it quicker. And you don't want to chip a tooth on a hard grain in your bread, now do you? So I hate to break it to you all, but besides the leading research and tech revolving around healthier, more natural and label-friendly ingredients the big dog baking suppliers and producers are focused on, there really isn't any secrets to baking. It's mostly common sense and following basic baking guidelines I talk about in my videos.